The Payments window is used to select and pay individual vendors. To access the Payments window, you select Tasks, then Payments from the menu bar. You can use this window to enter purchases which have been made from vendors that do not have an associated bill, or you can use it to apply payments to vendor bills that were entered through the Purchases/Receive Inventory screen. When a vendor ID is selected within the Payments window, all unpaid bills associated for that vendor appear on the Apply to Invoices tab below. For unpaid vendor bills, you can choose to pay the entire amount of the vendor bill or make a partial payment. You can also apply prepayments and vendor credit memos within this window. First, select either Vendor ID or Customer ID from the drop-down field of the same name, and then select the Vendor ID of the vendor or the Customer ID of the customer to whom you are issuing the check from the drop-down list that appears next to it. To enter a payment to a vendor who is not in your vendor list, you can leave this field blank and instead type the vendor's name into the Pay to the Order of field. You would only choose a Customer ID to issue a customer refund check. Next, enter the check/reference number used to pay this vendor or vendor bill into the text box of the same name if the check has already been issued. Leave this field blank if you plan to print the payment checks through Sage 50, as it will be assigned during the print routine. Also note the Recur button in the toolbar at the top of this window. You can click this button to create a payment and then have it recur in this and future time periods by selecting the frequency with which to automatically have this payment recur within the Create Recurring Payments dialog box. Once you have set the payment frequency, you would then click the OK button to create the future payments in Sage 50. This can be a handy time saver for bills which you have to pay on a set schedule with the same amount to the same vendor. Next, enter the date that the payment check was created into the Date field. The total cash balance after you pay the selected invoices or payments will be displayed in the Cash Account Balance field. If it says Uncalculated in the Cash Account Balance field, you can click the Recalculate button to the right to display the correct total balance. You can also enter the General Ledger account from which the check will be written within the Cash Account field. You would then select the Apply to Expenses tab to enter payments to vendors that are not associated with any outstanding invoices or purchases. Use this to enter payments that do not involve bills and cash purchases. When a vendor without any invoices is selected, this tab automatically appears. Note that you can also check the Prepayment box to create a prepayment which can then later be applied to one or more invoices for the selected vendor on the Apply to Invoices tab. You can also enter the number of items being purchased in the Items field. This should bring up the description and general ledger account if the item is in our inventory. If not, you can change both if needed. You may need to do the same with the unit price field if it is incorrect as well. If you are purchasing an item that is not tracked in inventory, enter the total price of the item into the Amount field as well. After entering items and quantities, you can enter the serial numbers for serialized stock items that you have entered into the Line Items area. To do this, select the first serialized stock item in the Line Items area, and then click the Serial Number button in the toolbar at the top of the window to open the Serial Numbers entry dialog box. Enter the first serial number into the Enter a Serial Number to Add field. If the serial numbers you need to add are consecutively numbered, you can check the Add blank consecutive serial numbers checkbox and then enter the number of consecutive serial numbers to enter into the adjacent field. After entering a serial number, click the Add button to add it to the list of serial numbers shown. You can then repeat this process until you have entered all of the serial numbers for the items purchased. You can see the total count of serial numbers you need to add for the selected item shown at the bottom of the window. When finished, click the OK button to return to the Payments window, or click the OK/Next button to move to the next serialized stock item for which you need to enter serial numbers within the form. This allows you to not have to close and reopen this dialog box for each item. You would select the Apply to Invoices tab to make payments against open vendor invoices. This tab will appear automatically when you select vendors with whom you have one or more outstanding invoices. On this tab, you will see the invoice, the due date, and the amount due. You can enter a description for each invoice in the description field if desired. If you qualify for a discount, the amount will be displayed in the discount column here as well. You cannot take a discount on a partial payment, however. You can also enter the amount paid to the invoice in this field, or you can simply check the checkbox for Pay to pay the selected invoices in full. When all invoices included on a check are selected, you can then click the Print button in the toolbar at the top of this window to print the disbursement check, or simply click the Save button to print the check later. Note that if you had selected a customer ID instead of a vendor ID when you first entered this window, the Apply to Customer Account tab appears at the bottom instead. You can use this tab to record customer refunds. Simply click the Save button when you are finished performing data entry within the Payments window.